Ty, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
How you doing? It's nice to finally have you on the podcast, man.
Nice to be on it. Like I was telling you earlier, I've watched the shows for a while, and I find them dead interesting. I think you have a wide range of guests on, and everyone has something different to bring in. It's nice to watch. You know me, I love speaking about Islam and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm glad to finally be on. Yeah,
we haven't had guests on in a while. I thought that I don't love the guest episodes, but now that I haven't had guests on for a while, I actually really miss them. So I'm going to do more of them. But I think you and I have been following each other for a while, and I've been seeing your stuff, and like kind of both ways. And so there's so much I want to dig into with you. First things first though, is like when I think of you, bro, I think this is like testament to, I suppose, like your character and your priorities, is that when I think of you, the first thing I think of is you come across like you're an amazing dad.
Thank you.
And there's a few things that make me feel like that, and I think I resonate with that a lot because I'm an amazing dad. Because I think being a dad to a boy is such a special thing. It's like your mini best friend, isn't it? And now I've only started experiencing this new because my son's now getting older. So he's only 3, but the point is that he now speaks and he asks me questions and he talks to me and I teach him things. Whereas before he was just a baby that just needs feeding, essentially.
Yeah, 100.
So when I see your story and stuff, and there was a few things I saw, like someone asked you a question once on Instagram Q&A. They said like, you know, how much does boxing mean to you, or what's the most important thing in your life? And you answered and you said, all of this is like absolutely pointless. All I want to do is be a good dad to my son, something like that. And I thought, you know, that's really special, and I really, really respect that. How is that? How is like your relationship with your son, and what's made you? I mean, to some extent, you're just a dad, and every dad should have this feeling. But it does seem like that's like your main goal, and everything you care about is right in that little boy.
It's just the most precious thing I've ever had. It's hard. I think the reason I'm so overly affectionate and just with him so much is because he's just the only thing I've got in this world that's so pure to me. I mean, I love my parents. Don't get me wrong. My parents raised me, do you know what I mean? Love them to pieces, but I wasn't like a proper close with my parents, do you know what I mean? Like in that kind of way. Whereas my son, I'm not affectionate, like even in past relationships, I'm not affectionate. I don't kiss, not really, like I do, but it's not really like my son. Literally, wallahi, I'm not even exaggerating. If every time I see him, I must kiss him at least 50 to 100 times a day. And I'm like, does it annoying? He's like, I like it, but it's a bit annoying. He's getting older now, isn't he? With his mates, when I take him to school, he don't want to kiss me before he goes out. He's got no choice. He's kissing me. But it's just such a blessing, man. Like I thank Allah all the time. Like he really blessed me. And like you said, when they get older, you're at the perfect age. My favorite age with him when he was about 2 to 4.
Okay.
Loved it. Like he was still a baby. He still had his cuteness. He's still cute now, but he's getting like now he's just bothered about football and playing with his mates. He doesn't even care about me. And I'm like, what about me? Like I've raised you. You know what I mean? That's what he's kind of feeling like now. Like we're still very close, alhamdulillah. But
you must be like a cool dad. Like he must think that you're a cool dad though. Like his friend, like you're an athlete and stuff like that. Like I'm sure his friends are like.
Well, do you know what?
I'm sure some of their dads are like.
Do you know what it is? Well, he goes private school.
Okay.
So some of his 2 best mates in private school, both of their dads are professional footballers.
Okay, fine.
So I think
so you're competing with them.
Like so they're like cool dads themselves, and I guess look, every kid is a son's hero. Every dad is a son's hero, right?
Yeah.
Like my dad was always my hero growing up. He was a boxer as well, to be fair, but he was just my hero anyway. I don't even think he was the boxing. You just always want to impress your dad. It's like a natural thing for a boy to do, probably. But I guess we're like mates. I forget he's my son sometimes. Like we just mess about, and luckily he's very well behaved. Like he's not, he's not naughty at all. So I don't really have to discipline him. Like he has his cheek every so often, and I just give him the look. But we're just mates. Yeah, it's just like I teach him, and obviously I tell him rights from wrongs and don't do this and you should do that. But he asks a lot of questions. He's very inquisitive. And I find myself, as he's getting older, I have to really mind how I act and what I say in front of him, because he picks up and he's going to learn from me. Yeah. Because they don't listen to your words, they follow your actions. So I have to be even more mindful of kind of that he is my son and not my mate sometimes, and he is a child, because sometimes I just forget. He's just like, I'd speak to him like I'm speaking to one of my boys. But yeah, man, it's a blessing, man. He's the world to me, man. And I can't thank Allah enough for blessing me with him, because he saved my life and he don't even know it.
Yeah, subhanAllah. This is the thing with social media, what you just mentioned now about like being careful about what we say and stuff. I think we're going through something new that the previous generation didn't go through, which is that everything we put on socials is now available, and our kids, when they're older, are going to be able to look back on it. I would love to get a window into what my dad was thinking and how he was speaking and behaving and talking about me when he was 28, 29. And now my sons will get that. They'll be able to look back, whether I like it or not. Once something's on the internet, they've got, for the last 6 years, every single week, I've done like an hour or two of speaking on the internet. Like they're going to be able to see at every point in my life like what I was thinking. But it's a scary thing as well, because sometimes we make mistakes and stuff like that, and it's worrying that it's the world of the internet is unforgiving in that sense, because it's all on camera. Your kids are going to see that, and it does make you see things in a new perspective.
100%. And you see with like other celebrities and that, they might be completely different people now. Listen, the internet, they will find stuff from 2001 that you tweeted when you was a 8-year-old in school or something. They will find it. But look, we're humans, we make mistakes and people grow. That's why I always, even when I see people that come out and say things Islamophobic, I just look and just think, you probably changed your mind on that now. You know what I mean? Like, people have to grow. Some of the staunchest enemies of Islam turned out to be the best Muslims. So I think, especially, just in culture in general, we're very quick to cancel people, and you said this, and we forget that people grow and learn, and you can't just keep holding people accountability for someone they was. If they've changed, even if they said something yesterday, if they've changed today and they've generally changed, let them grow as people, man. No one's perfect. So you're right, it is worrying, because you think, I might say something on the internet somewhere and my son sees it as he grows up and stuff. So you're right, you have to definitely watch what you say these days, because everything's recorded, isn't it? So
it makes sense that you feel like that as well, actually. Like the fact that, you know, when people behave or act in a certain way, that you just kind of you let it go in through one ear and out the other, because your demeanor and character does come across very anti like confrontational. That's how it comes across. And it reminds me of this principle in Islam that I remember hearing a few of the shuyukh speak about, which is when something happens, essentially, like, don't react instantly. There's benefit in. I remember, like, one of them, he said that nothing bad comes from patience and nothing good comes from haste. And you're right, man. Like, especially like being on the internet, like you are, like being in public eye, you're in an industry where, you know, people are going to be slinging words at you. You kind of do have to, like, the one who can control his temper and his anger and be patient, that's like the true winner, isn't it? And often, like, when you're silent, if somebody's like being absurd, essentially, your silence actually enables them to, because they're not getting a reaction, it enables them to think about how stupid they sound, 100%. And it kind of like lets them work it out for themselves.
Funnily enough, people find this mad, but I've never in my life lost my temper, ever once.
Really?
Never. Like, I've got mad and frustrated and said things and stuff, but I've never, like, you know, when people get rage or they just flip. It's never happened to me. I've always had tremendous self-control. So
how do you motivate yourself in the gym when you have to go at it at a, I don't know, sparring partner?
The worst thing you can do in a boxing ring is lose your temper. That's what you're dying your opponent hope. The best thing you can do is, because then what you're going to do is overcommit.
Yeah, makes sense.
You're going to try too hard to try and land a shot. Perfect example, it happened to Conor McGregor when he knocked out that Jose Aldo in the first round. He wound him up that much before. He came in and was trying to overcommit. That half a second of extra commitment, got caught, knocked out.
And McGregor was just patient with it.
Yeah, he
not
knew.
patient with it, but as in, like, he
timed him.
Yeah,
because he knew he was going to overcommit because he's wound him up. That's why a lot of boxers and fighters win before they get in there. Trash talker, Floyd Mayweather's another great one. Tyson Fury's another great one. You wind them up so much that when they get in there, they want to kill you. That's the best thing, because now you're not going to be thinking. Boxing's a technical sport, and it's a thinking man's game. It's like a game of chess. You have to think about what everyone's doing before they do it, and this and that. So, yeah, in the gym, I motivate myself, but I just channel in. It's like a tunnel vision when you're in there. You literally can't hear nothing. When you're in the boxing, you can't hear nobody.
Really?
You just hear muffling, crowd cheering, but you can't hear any words. You can't. It's just like tunnel vision. You can't. When someone's trying to knock you out, the last thing you're thinking of is what Joe or Dave said out into you in the crowd. Do you know what I mean? So it's tunnel vision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man.
Yeah.
I've always been intrigued by the world of sports and professional athletes and stuff like that. And I think because growing up, that's kind of like a boy's hero, isn't it? You see footballers on the screen, you see, you know, when you're young, like you watch professional wrestling and you see like these, like The Rock, he's massive and he's like your hero. And it's like it kind of in some way an inspiration to be athletic, to be healthy, to be like in good shape and stuff like that. So you do get intrigued by the lifestyle of it, and you see kind of the other side of it as well, the difficulty that it comes with.
It's true.
Let's start with your story then. Like, let's go back to that, because interestingly, I know like parts and I don't know parts, and so I'm intrigued to learn with the audience about kind of your journey to Islam and stuff like that. So you weren't born Muslim?
No.
Was anyone in your family Muslim?
No.
Okay, so how did that? Where did you first get your interest in Islam then? So right now you're 32, right? You're 32, so fine. So let's track it back.
Okay, so I was born in just like a little village in Derby, England, called Little Eaton. Most of my family still live there. I love the place. It's a beautiful place to go. But I think growing up, I didn't realise how blessed I was to live in such a safe place. Like, we'd leave our bikes out on the front, we'd go and play, they'd still be there. Everyone used to go in each other's house, all the kids used to play. It was a really beautiful upbringing that I had, and I'm lucky to have it and blessed to have it. But I wasn't religious, like I wasn't christened, I wasn't anything. My family are Christian by name, but none of them go to church, none of them, I don't even think most of them even really believe in Christianity like that. There's a few of them that do. But for the most part, I think most of them believe in God, but they don't really follow any religion. Mostly, really, that's how my family was. So I grew up and I always believed in God growing up, because things don't make sense without God. It's just everything works too well for it to be a coincidence. Like, I wasn't, even from a kid, I knew the way, just everything, like the way electricity works, the way that water evaporates into the air and it rains, and the way that if you cut your skin, it'll make new skin. If you thought it heals you, just everything about life works far too precisely for there not to be a God. So I always believed in God. But my dad had a boxing gym in Normanton, which is a predominantly Asian culture in that area. So, but there was all kinds of people, Afghanis, Polish. It was a very mixed kind of place of people. But the boxing gym I went to, there's a lot of Muslims there, a lot of Sikhs, a lot of everything. So I used to ask questions and this and that. And I think they was trying to give me dawah when I was young, maybe 13, 14, these kind of ages. But they was giving me the wrong dawah. They was being far too intellectual with me. I didn't really understand what they were saying. And it just seemed a bit far-fetched to me at the time. And if I asked them questions, because I'm inquisitive, even to this day, I'm very inquisitive. I don't want to know what the ruling is. I do want to know what the ruling is, but I want to know why there's a ruling, because there's a reason for everything, so I want to know why. And then they'd get frustrated if they couldn't answer, and they're like, oh, if everyone's always asking why, that means that they've not got, that there's something wrong with their heart and this and that, and whatever. But they was probably young themselves and didn't really understand how to give dawah properly. I think their intentions was pure. Then my older sister, I've got a sister that's 2 years older than me, she turned Muslim.
Really?
Yeah. And I used to take the mick out of her. No, I was happy she was Muslim, but I used to take the mick out of her. Oh, look, yeah, because she used to wore hijab and never took it off. And I used to like rip her this and that. Yeah, you letterbox this and that. She doesn't even wear burqa. It doesn't even make sense, but it's just like brother-sister banter stuff. But her taking her shahada was the best thing she ever did in her life, because she would be out, she'd be clubbing, drinking, speaking to boys and whatever. Since then, she's never gone out again, never touched alcohol again. She's really takes it serious. She got married, moved. She lives in Bradford now with her husband. She's been there years. Like, she's best thing that's ever happened to her. Like, and I love the change that she did. But I never thought I would be Muslim. But as you know,
even at the time, you were like happy for her, because
I was happy for her, because at the time I just thought, I'm not gonna lie, at the time I thought she was brainwashed, because I didn't understand. But I just thought she was around people, they've told her stuff, she kind of just followed it. But when I seen the change it made in her, I thought, you've probably been brainwashed and just following your mates or whatever, or following whoever's taught you. But it's had a good impact on your life, so good to you. Do you know what I mean? It's a good thing. It's worked out good for you, and it's better for me, because you're not going out, you're not doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? It was good. But I never thought I would become a Muslim. But I was happy for her at the same time. But then, as you know, I ended up getting in trouble when I was younger, 19, 20. I ended up going to prison for 4 years. And towards the end of it...
You were there 4 years?
Yeah, I was in there for a while. And there's this big misconception that if you go to prison and you take your shahada, you get better food, you get more time out yourself.
Right, yeah, I've heard this, like you kind of get protected by the Muslim.
So that can happen, but that only happens in like category A prisons, which is like people that are doing 40, 50 years and stuff. So them kind of prisons, it does happen where if you're Muslim, you can't, they run the jails. But I was in a Cat C prison, Cat B's, it's not really like that.
So hold on, when you went to prison, you were not Muslim. Okay.
I was non-Muslim. So yeah, there's a big misconception you get longer out your cell. That's a lie. You don't get no longer out your cell if you're Muslim. You get to go to Jummah on a Friday, but you can go to church on a Sunday. You can go to
Fine,
any,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't. Everyone's like, you get better food. That's a lie. Everyone has the same menu and you can order whatever you want off the menu. Okay. So that's another lie.
Where were you?
I was at a few, but I was up north. So I was in
fine.
Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Leeds, all them ways. But yeah, so that's all a misconception. So when the people, because a lot of people do, I think a lot of people do it for fashion though, because they might go to prison abroad, all the mates are Muslim, they'll turn Muslim and then they'll come out and never pray.
Did Mike Tyson take shahada in prison? Or was it before?
I don't know, That's a good question. I'm not sure if it was in prison.
I remember at one point he came out of prison really religious. So it, I suppose, worked as a really good solitude thing where you can kind of just be, look into yourself, I suppose, into your heart. And
do you know what it is? I think I'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, fine.
Because it kind of leads into my question. So yeah, that's a complete misconception that you get longer out yourself. But my mind, funnily enough, was right towards the end. I was about to get out before I got onto my path of Islam. So basically, when you're in prison, the best thing to describe it is you're dead, but you're not dead, but you're not alive. Do you know what I mean? You're just existing.
Really?
It's like you've been in a cell, been in like a big tomb. Anyway, you're just locked up 23 hours a day in a room with nothing really. You got like, obviously you get a TV and stuff, but you're just there on your own. I was always up by myself. I didn't have no cellmates or anything.
Did you prefer that though?
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, I'd want to be by myself. But then when you're very close to death.
Why were you by yourself?
Because I just wanted to be on a single side. I don't like being around people too much.
So you could request that?
There's people that would like to be padded up because they don't like to be by themselves.
Yeah.
You can request the single cells, but a lot of the time it's harder to get them because some people want them, some people don't. But if you can buy anything in prison. If you've got tobacco or food or whatever you've got, you can barter with stuff. So you can just you can buy someone, sell off them, which is essentially what I always did.
Fine.
So it was right towards the end, and I was thinking like I might be alive, but I'm not living. So I think when you're kind of close to death, you feel like you're close to death, like you're essentially alive, but like I said, you're just existing. So it was like you start to question, okay, what is the purpose of life, essentially. Funny enough, when I got moved to another wing, and I got put in a cell for 24 for like a night before they moved me to another cell, and there was a book on there just left in the cell from whoever was in there before, called A Brief Illustrated Guide to Understanding Islam.
No way. Oh, may Allah bless that person.
Oh, bro.
And you, to say, probably don't know who it was, right?
I didn't know what the book was. But it was just in there, and there was.
But you also probably don't know who left it there.
No, I don't. Yeah, it was just left in the cell from whoever.
And
was
they
there
probably
before.
don't know that.
They don't know what it's done. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I picked up the book. I've read it because there was nothing inside. I didn't have no TV, nothing. It was just a cell that put me. So I just thought, give me something to do, bro. When I tell you the way I was transfixed to this book, it's talking about the scientifical miracles of the Quran. And that's what brought me to Islam. Okay. Because I'm not somebody that goes on how you make things feel, how things make you feel initially. If it makes you feel good, listen, Hindus, they have a feeling, Christians, they have a feeling, Sikhs, everything they do obviously makes them feel good to do it. Yeah. So feeling for me, they can't all be right because they're all completely different religions. So I'm thinking, for me, I want evidence, proof. Right. No one ever told me when they was giving me dawah before about the scientific facts of the Quran. Right. Or if they didn't do a good job because I didn't understand it. Yeah. When it's talking about the aquila, where it's like a leech suspended thing, and blood clot is the embryo inside a woman, the stages it goes through, how it looks. Then it's talking about mountains, how they go further under the ground and they actually do protrude up in the air, talking about the seas that don't mix, talking about everything it spoke about. I'm thinking, if this book came nearly 1,500 years ago, how did a man, because it's not even general, it's very precise, like it tells you exactly what happens when you get bones develop in a pregnancy, and it's very precise, it's not general. That's what I like about it. It tells you exactly what the reasons for, how it looks. I'm thinking, they didn't have microscopes back then, they didn't have, and and it's not like, they've got so many things right, but a couple of things wrong. Nothing has ever been disproven in the Quran, ever. So it's facts. Like, I believe to this day, 80% of the Quran has been proven, 80% of the Quran has been proven to be 100% correct, and the other 20% is ambiguous. It's not been proven right or wrong, for example, the existence of heaven or things like that, because obviously we've not got to a stage, or we're probably never going to get to a stage to prove if heaven or hell is real.
Right.
But everything it's just law of averages, it's just common sense. If this wasn't from God, 100% by now, there'd have been at least one misconception, one contradiction, or one error. There's none. There's zilch.
Yeah, people spend their lives trying to prove it wrong.
Exactly. There's zilch. There's none. Even to the point where they say, produce a chapter like it. Put it in, we've got laptops, we've got this technology, this and that. No one can do it. Why? Because it's from Allah, and Allah said He's going to protect it and preserve it. What's happened? So, even though I never thought, and I didn't really initially want to be Muslim, because I just thought, you know what, it's too hard, the lifestyle I live. I wasn't ever bothered about what anybody would think. But it was just me, I didn't want to do it in disjustice or whatever. But once the evidence is in front of you, you can't deny it. And my thing is this, people know if they research Islam and the real Islam, they'll know it's true. I think a lot of my friends know Islam's the real religion, but a lot of people reject Islam because Islam rejects their lifestyle. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I think that we face with people not wanting to convert or revert, is because of their lifestyle. Whereas my thing was like this, okay, cool. I'm never going to be perfect. I probably sin probably more than anyone that you've had on this podcast. I'm just going to be real, I'm a sinner. But I try. And I think that's the only thing. God doesn't want us to be perfect. He doesn't want us to be sinless. He's got angels. If He wanted us to be, would be angels. He even says that if we was a nation of people that didn't sin and didn't pray, He'd replace us for people that sinned and repented to Him, right? So I think people get too caught up in not sinning and wanting to be a better person before taking shahada and stuff, or getting back on the prayers. Even Muslims that are Muslim, and I think, I need to clean up my act and stuff before, because they'll feel like a hypocrite. Yeah. And I feel like that's the devil, bro.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's the devil, bro, because look, no, you're never going to, if you're waiting for you to stop sinning before you turn back and get back on your deen, you're never ever going to do it, because you're never going to stop sinning. You never made us like that. You might get better and better, and that's our aim. You've got to try and be better than you was. And alhamdulillah, I feel like I'm definitely getting better. I'm far from perfect, but it's a journey. I'm never going to get to, do you know what I mean? I'm not a prophet, I'm not sinless, do you know what I mean? So I think you've just got to think, you know what, I just thought, you know what, take your shahada, and it's just a journey, bro. And I think I'm quite thick-skinned, like I'm very hard to offend, like I said. So I just thought, you know what, it's between me and God. I can try my best, and I'll just take it step by step. And that's what I did, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I've never regretted it. I've never not wanted to be Muslim. I've never even disliked it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And alhamdulillah for Islam. And I think, I just think I'm very blessed, and I'm very happy and thankful to Allah that He said, you know what, because I've been Muslim nearly 10 years. I can't remember how I used to think before, because like, if I do something now that I know is haram, I feel bad. Yeah. Even if I go back to it, I feel like, whereas before I just think, how did I used to just get through life? Because I remember believing in God, but I used to just think, if I'm a good person, I'm going to go to heaven, and if I'm a bad person, I'll go to hell. But then who decides what's good and bad? You can't just decide because everyone's got a different, it's subjective, isn't it? So I'm just thankful that Allah blessed me and give me Islam, because I just think, what would I have been, or where would I have been in my life without Islam? Now I wouldn't be nowhere near the man I am today, and that's a fact.
What you just said about it's like, how did I make those decisions, or how did I live that life before Islam? That resonates with me a lot, because I feel like when you start practicing the religion, it shows you it unravels your true character and who you really are. Because before Islam, well, what are you basing your decisions off, and how are you living your life? You don't really know. You just kind of base it off desires, or like what you think is right. Once you have a rule book, and it's a rule book that your soul resonates with and realizes and remembers, because it's the fitrah realizes it and sees it. Then you start living a life that is a true life, and then you start seeing your own true personality. And so one thing I realized about myself only after I started practicing was how much I'm like a rule follower. I never knew that before, but bro, the fact that Islam presented me with all these rules, and all I had to do is just follow them, and I didn't have to make decisions for myself, it was like, oh, I could just submit. So obviously, like you said, bro, we make so many mistakes. So I'm not saying I follow all the, but what I am saying is it makes life so much easier when you're presented with a situation, you don't know what decision to make, and you go, well, what does Islam say about it? Okay, cool, that's the decision I'll make.
It's easy, and that's what I love about it. You just think, you know what, whenever you're in two minds about something, you think, just think, well, to go to religion.
Yeah, you take it out of your hands, yeah. So let's go back a bit on the story, because we got to the point where, so you were in this 24-hour cell.
Yeah, 23, yeah.
And then you saw the book.
Yeah.
But had you taken so you picked up a book and you were fascinated by the book, but at what point after that did you take Shahada? There and then?
No.
Fine. And how old were you at that point?
23.
Fine. So you took it that year?
Yeah, I took it not long after.
Okay, yeah. So what's that journey like from picking up the book to Shahada?
So I picked it up, then I was like fascinated by it, but I read the book twice because I didn't have nothing to do. I read it, I was fascinated with it, read it again. It wasn't a long book, it probably took me about an hour to read. Fine. Read it again. So then I got some books from the library the next day, did some research, and I kind of I could have waited 30 days, which but I ended up taking my Shahada literally the day before Ramadan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, man. Yeah, Allah's timing is great.
Yeah. So I literally done some research, because I don't really, I do ask questions, but I like to research stuff myself. So I was researching stuff, getting books, learning, asking a couple of questions. Then I was just like, well, you know it's to the truth. You know you believe it. What's the point in waiting? And I was thinking, but Ramadan is like soon. Yeah. Then I thought, you know what, yeah, lad, we'll do it.
You know what? This is the bit that I find fascinating, because the person who's closest to me that probably took Shahada was a guy called Nate who works in our office, and. He similar comes from a Caribbean background, and what happened to him in a similar way to your story is that when he was younger, a lot of people were trying to give him da'wah in a really strong way, and it was like aggressively strong. Like, I think they saw in him a person who potentially, you know, sometimes your soul, you see someone, you're like, this guy's sincere. And I think perhaps when people were trying to give you da'wah, maybe they saw, look, this guy's actually a sincere guy, I want good for him. Maybe that's what they saw in Nate. Went about it the wrong way, to the point where he was like, I'm never becoming a Muslim, I'm never going to believe in God, and so on and so forth. He like made those decisions, and then like yourself, it got to the point where when he had decided that Islam was the truth, the years after, basically, he like in the office and stuff, we would speak to him about Islam and stuff like that, and when he realized that it was the truth, he got to a point where he said, I just can't take it anymore, I have to take Shahada, regardless of what that means and what effect that's going to have on my life and what I can and can't do. Because at the time he was like finishing off a sleeve, and it was like it was like a skyline of London. And so if you look at Nate's arm now, it's so beautiful because it tells a story. He's got like an incomplete skyline of London, and he just wanted to complete that and then take his Shahada. And it's so incredible, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because it's so incredible when someone is so set on something, like, I want to finish this skyline. Like, it sounds maybe silly, but I can imagine that's like an important thing. I'm not going to take Shahada until I finish it, because I know I can't have tattoos after that. And then it got to a point where he's like, I can't live with myself, I just need to take Shahada. And he just broke down and took Shahada. There's a video of it online. And it sounds simple. It's like look, I know the Ramadan's going to be hard, and ideally I wait 30 days, but I can't hold it. Like, I need to just take the Shahada. Yeah,
I think 100%, man. And even after I took my Shahada, it was a while before I really fell in love with Islam. So like, I knew it was the truth, but I didn't have like a connection. Came home, and a lot of the people where I was from, they didn't see the same kind of Islam as I did. It was very, if you do this, you're going to hell. If you do that, it's haram, this, that. And it was just hard for me, man. And I just didn't connect with anybody. Like, because I don't really know that many Muslims where I'm from, because I grew up in a little English, predominantly white village, and I'm still friends with all my best friends and all my friends that I'm friends with. I went to nursery with them, primary school, secondary school.
No way, that's
and
amazing.
we're all still friends today. We've all grown up together. None of them are Muslim. None of my family are Muslim, apart from my sister who lives in Bradford. She doesn't live near me. So I was literally just doing loan, just on my own. My iman was very up and down. I was on and off practicing, and it was just hard for me. Then my son loves a song by Khalid Sadiq. Do you know Khalid? Have you heard of Khalid Sadiq?
I know Khalid, yeah.
So Khalid Sadiq did a song called Ya Habibi, and my son loved it. He was young at the time, 3 or something, 2, 3, and he liked playing it. Anyway, he came up on my Explore page, on my Insta. So
he would watch it on your YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, he'd watch it on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, it might have his mum's, and then he'd then Khalid randomly come up on my Explore page one day, maybe a couple of months later. So I started following him. He followed me back, which I thought was a bit mad because he didn't really follow anyone at the time. Like I think less than 100 people at the time.
Because you guys just went Umrah together, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So this is about 3 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. So anyway, then we spoke on there, and I was like, because I thought he's from London, which he lives in London, but he's actually from Leicester, and he was actually in Derby around the time I was speaking to him. So he's like, oh, we'll link up or whatever. So I linked up with him. We went for food and we spoke, and it was mad because he was like meeting someone like me. He saw Islam like me. I could relate to him. Obviously, he's born Muslim, but everyone thinks he's a revert because he's mixed race, but his parents are reverts. He was born Muslim. But I could relate to him because we both got like Jamaican, from Jamaican and English and British. His mum's Irish, but Jamaican and British cultures. We could get on. I could see it, and through him, I met other people like Mustafa Briggs, his brother Umi, my friend Moya, my friend Gambian. There's loads of them. I don't want to miss it.
You must have met Lats through them.
Yeah, I met Lats through him. Yeah, further down the line, I met Lats after about a year of knowing these. So from these, like, I met, and they all just like it was like we're not perfect, we sin, but they take religion serious.
And was it your first taste of brotherhood?
It was my first taste of, it was, and it was like I found somewhere where I fit in. It was kind of like, I've said this before on a previous podcast, it was like in the Jungle Book at the end where he finds the village and he's walking through and he's like, oh, there's actually people like me in the world because he'd never met a human before. And it was kind of similar to that. It's like, these like they're the first Muslims that I'd been around where I could literally just be myself. Yeah. And there was no judgment. And wallahi, man, them boys there that I met through him had a big impact on me falling in love with Islam. I think before that, I knew it was the truth, but I didn't really enjoy it. I found it a bit of a chore. Through them, I really found the beauty in Islam. Wow. And may Allah bless them and protect them because it really helped me a lot. And I'm still very close with them all today. I speak to them all a lot. They come to my fights. They fly in, like Mustafa Briggs flew in to watch my last fight.
Oh, really?
And like I said, me, Briggs, Khalid and Lats, we went to Umrah last year with, and we actually done Umrah with Badu, Jack and a few other brothers. And it was just it was a beautiful time. We had such a good time. And it was just a very peaceful time. But through them, Did you meet Abdullah, Armour at that Umrah? Badu Jack's manager. Oh yeah. We done the Umrah with him.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
He's the best guy. He's a trickster as well. You have to watch him. He's a little prankster. You have to watch him. Yeah, he was always pranking us. But bless him, man.
You know, I really love Armour because he did the podcast with us a few years ago. And he kind of had no reason to. And in fact, he did the podcast at a time where, you know, when that viral video happened of Mike Tyson praying and someone was leading him Salah, and it was Armour who was leading him Salah, yeah. And I can't remember how we spoke or how we ended up speaking. But sometimes like you do the podcast with people, and we've done, I don't even know, like over 300 episodes now. And so you meet people and, you know, there's never been a bad experience, but sometimes you meet someone and you do the pod with them and then you don't really see them again after. Kind of, which is normal, no hard feelings. But I'm like, I could message him now, bro, and he'll reply, 100%. and he'll reply with love, and he kind of like, you get the feeling from him that you can just message him whenever. And so there's a few people like that, and I respect that because there's no need for him to show me love like that. He's a busy guy. He's around A-list celebs all the time. He's like, you know, one of Mike Tyson's right-hand man. And I remember him saying to me after the podcast, he's like, you know, is there anything that you want for me to help you with the podcast or anything? He opened up, he spoke about his family, his daughters, and just life in general on the podcast. And it didn't feel transactional. Sometimes a podcast, even like yourself, you know, just the little thing of us like meeting beforehand just now and praying together and stuff, it kind of makes it less transactional, and it feels like the brotherhood feels nice and stuff, doesn't it? And first of all, what a beautiful way to kind of start your friendship with someone is in Salah.
Wallahi, I was thinking when I was in the masjid praying, I was thinking, what a way to meet someone like.
It's like a sign from Allah. It's like pure, right?
Yeah. But no, you're right, man. And you can tell he's not pointing on. He's genuinely a nice person.
Yeah, he seems
even when
like
I spoke
that.
to him since, he's just, anytime he's replied, so much love, so much kindness. And shall I tell you who else is very similar?
Who?
When I went to Umrah with the boys, and then the next day I went to Medina, and we went with Omar Suleiman, you know, the sheikh from...
The Imam,
the Imam from America. Like, he's uber famous, right, in the Muslim world.
Yeah, he's really famous. He's just did a podcast with Lex Friedman.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it's like some big. I haven't watched it, but like
he's done some quite big things on the internet. But yeah, like he's just like, yeah, he come message us because he followed me on Insta randomly one time. Okay. I was like, mad. So I followed him straight back because I watch his stuff anyway. But he's good friends with him.
It seems like you made all your connections with Instagram. There's some barakah on your Instagram page, right?
Instagram's been patting him.
We met on Instagram, yeah. The algorithm likes you, man.
Yeah, trust me. But him and Briggs are also close because they've done stuff before, and he was messaging us like, yeah, I'm gonna come and meet you over there. So I'm thinking he's gonna come with a few people because he's probably gonna, he just came by himself, walked to meet us. He didn't even ask us to meet him. Walked to our hotel, waited downstairs in the lobby for us. Just walked around, took us around Medina. He gave us his mobile numbers. Like, if you ever need me for anything, like he took hours out of his day to spend with us, and he was the most genuinely nice person. Like, I didn't expect him not to be nice, but I just didn't expect him to make so much time and just treat us just like it was one of his boys in his earnest for years, was talking for hours. He walked us around, showed us, and then he just like, when everything was finished, he's like, yes, Islam, and hopefully we'll see you soon or whatever, you've got my number, just WhatsApp me, and then just walked off like he's not famous. Just walked off into the best. But the only thing he did is he had a mask on because as soon as he took it off, everyone was asking him for pictures, and he wanted to just, take in the moment and stuff.
I mean, I'm sure he's quite recognisable even when they're masked.
Yeah, some people was asking him, but he's then just walked off and just went about his day, just like.
You know what? It's really interesting because I've had a very similar experience with Mufti Menk, which is that he's incredibly humble, and even when he goes to Armour, like, first of all, I think people there, they know why everyone's there, and also they probably look, every Muslim in the world at some point, like, the idea is that they go to Makkah and Medina, right? Yeah. And so I'm sure it's the norm. At any given time, there's someone is prolific the word? Is prolific a bad thing? Someone, I think prolific.
Prolific means constant, right?
I don't know. I thought prolific meant like someone who's like known. But anyway, at any given time, high profile. Like high profile. Even now, there'll be someone high profile at Mecca, Medina. There's always going to be someone there because it's for. So I think there's that understanding generally from the people there. But similar experience with Mufti Menk in that very humble. Very just a normal, like, a guy's guy, and when he comes to Dubai, like, he'll message me like it's super like I'm in Dubai, like it'd be like, let's try to do a podcast, it'd be nice to meet up, or like, this is where I'm staying, come see me. And he kind of makes that effort, and he speaks very like just like one of the lads, and chills like one of the lads. What I realised is with a lot of these people, and you must know this even more than me because obviously you're so close to Tyson Fury and stuff like that, is that the thing with people the people who are high profile essentially, who people want to be around and stuff, with those people, it's almost like the trick is you have to just be a normal person. Yeah. The minute you give them the vibe that you're a fan,
it's just like
it's over. Yeah. But you probably, the reason you probably was like that with, I like that with people, is because you've been around Tyson and stuff. You are quite used to someone walking past. I think I learned that through the pod. Yeah. I realized very quickly, and I'm really blessed with the guys in the office. The guys in the office in London, when someone like high profile would come to do the podcast, they're all so chilled. They're just getting on with their work. And I kind of, at first I would brief like, oh, guys, X person is coming, and it'd be a bit, because at the time, bro, like, for us to have even someone on that's like just had like 50,000 subscribers or something like that was like, at the beginning, it was a big deal. Yeah. Like, everyone, there's guys coming. And it's nice, bro, because so I learned that through them, and I learned that through the podcast. And then now, if I'm in a situation where we're out and in Dubai, bro, you're like with someone, I'll be like with you, we go for dinner, and you're with, and you just learn, if you just sit there and you just be yourself and you relax, you don't try and be the joke star or try and be the guy who's like trying to like, because instantly when you're trying to, these people are always seeing people trying to impress them and stuff. Yeah. So they know, bro, when you're relaxed, at some point, mama's going to look over to you and say, oh, how's the food? And then you end up in a normal conversation, and then it's chilled, and that breaks the ice, and then you keep moving. So
I think even for me, and I'm not even remotely famous, but like people, because I've got an okay-ish Insta following.
You're being humble there, but yeah, go on.
But do you know what it is? It's subjective. I remember when I was on 2000, I thought, when I got 10k, I've made it. And then when you're it's when
you get 10k, you used to be able to get the swipe up feature on stories. Do you remember that?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But now it's subjective. Like, I actually think, because now I'm around people that got millions, so what's mine? Do you know what I mean? But some people will like try and act weird around me, like they think I'm somebody, and so I can imagine it gives you. It's just like I'm a normal, just be normal. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can tell when someone's trying to impress you, and I just think just be normal. And I think as I've got older, it's different with Tyson because I knew him before he was famous. Yeah. So it's not but I have met people that are famous, and because I've been around so many famous people, and I know so many, I just know that they're normal people. And
especially as a Muslim as well, like we all have one Lord, we all sin.
I always think like, yo, you're not Prophet Muhammad, bro. Chill out. Yeah. You know what I mean? if it was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I see him, then I'd be like, fangirling. Yeah. But other than that, I just feel like as a man, it's a bit icky to be like trying to fanboy another man. Yeah. Like you're a grown man, have some like, do you know what I mean? Like he's another man. Yeah, fair enough, you can respect him and have and admire, but don't be fangirling, bro. Come on, man. Imagine your wife sees actually like, why are you fangirling another man? Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's part of it. And they're just normal people. Everyone just acts normal. Like you're a human being. Like I remember seeing something like, it's something about some something to do with the royal family. There's like, and she just sat down and just ate like a normal person. I was thinking, well, how else do you expect she ate like a normal person? What do you think she's going to do? Eat through her head? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Well, you do eat through your head technically, but like, not the top of your head. Yeah. But yeah, like it's just normal. Yeah. But yeah, I think. So
I think when people start to realise that, it becomes the norm. I'm still intrigued by a story. I want to keep tracking back to it because I feel like I don't feel fully satisfied in it. So what we got so far is you found the book. Shortly after the book, before Ramadan, you took Shahada. Mm-hmm. The specific moment of taking Shahada, were you by yourself?
I was in the masjid.
Okay, so you're out of prison by now?
No, I was in the masjid.
In the masjid inside the prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there and I knew...
So when did you start going to the masjid and stuff? Give us details, man.
I think, I can't, if I'm being honest, I can't fully remember. I just know that I was interested in it. I put my name down to go. I went... I was asking questions. I was watching how things worked in there and stuff while I was still doing my research. And there's a brother there.
Does the imam come daily or just for Jummah?
He's just there for Jummah, but I think he'd just be around the prison sometimes if you need him.
Counselling.
Yeah. But there's a brother there that I think he was a lifer. I think he was a Pakistani guy. I'm not sure, but he was very knowledgeable. I don't even know what race he was. He might have been Arab. I'm not sure 100%. I can't really remember. But he was very knowledgeable. If the imam was sick, he'd take the khutbah.
Okay.
So he was like, oh, just wait for the imam before. I was like, no, I want to do it today. The imam's not in today. I was like, no, I need to do it. Like, I know, do you know what I mean? It was kind of like something that I felt I wanted to do quite quickly, like once I knew. So he's like, yo, yeah, like, come. So there's him and a couple of my friends. And we just did it there in the mosque. He just said, just follow after me, repeat after me, repeat after him. Then there's another brother from Jordan who was on my wing. He was a knowledgeable brother. And he basically taught me how to pray. So he was like, I said, you told me you say it in Arabic and I write down how it sounds to me so I can learn it.
Oh, nice.
So that's what he did. I wrote out the Fatiha, and then I learned my full namaz within a week off by heart. So I learned it very quickly, yeah, alhamdulillah. So
it's so funny that you call it namaz. That's such a Pakistani thing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, my salah.
Over, bro. Yeah.
But I learned my salah within a week. And he loved it. Like the guy used to boast about it to other people. He'd be like, I taught him this last night, and it'd come out like different parts of it, and it'd come out the next day, and I'd be like, yeah, no, it'd be like, go on then, and I'd recite
your memory is very. I think that if you put your head to it, you become hafid very quickly.
That's what I was telling you earlier. I said it's like I feel ashamed because I've got a gift. Allah's given me a gift to be able to memorize things quickly. And I've not used it. I should learn. Like I said to you, I should know a lot more surahs than I do. And there's nothing other than laziness. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, just start like walking. You don't need to run, but like say yourself, you can set like slow milestones, super slow. You start from the short and stuff like that. But for sure,
I have things like I don't know whether it's not a photographic memory because I can't see something and remember, but it's like photographs come to mind. For example, in the Arabic alphabet, there's the letter Z. And my mum's best mate's son is called Zayn, and Zay sounds like Zayn. So whenever I see the word Zay, a picture of Zayn will pop into my head, or something, things like that.
Yeah.
Or it could be anything. Meme. Whenever I hear the word meme, I just think of a meme.
Yeah,
things like that. And then when I'm looking at letters, pictures pop into my head, and that's how I remember things. So alhamdulillah, I'm quite good at learning stuff quick. Then I learned how to pray, and then that was it really. I just kind of prayed. Obviously, I did my first Ramadan. I didn't fast them all. I tried my best, but it was the first time I'd ever done it. I fasted more than half though, and that was it. Like I came out.
Are you able to do like suhoor and stuff in prison?
Yeah.
How
so
does that work?
So what they do is they'll give you like it's like a flask of food, and it's hot. So like they'll have hot water in the bottom of it, and then you take it to your cell, and then later on in the night, a couple of hours later, it won't be hot, but it'll be like warm still.
So so they obviously know that there's Muslims in there who fast.
Yeah. So
they make
a big batch of food for the Muslims.
Okay.
And then they'll put them all in flasks, and then when everyone gets their dinner, you'll get your flask.
And what about iftar? What's iftar like? Is that just at dinner time?
But that's for iftar. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And then
fine.
so you just whatever because you can buy noodles, you can have anything that you need.
And how are you paying for things?
So like you get money sent in, or you have jobs in there. People have jobs in there, and you get you can spend like 15 to whatever it is a month, depending on what regime you're on. If you're enhanced, if you've been good, you can spend a bit more. And you can just order stuff. Yeah.
So you can't just have someone sending grand and you can just spend it all. Like they limit how much you can spend.
Yeah. No matter. That's what I'm saying is people. You can be a multi-millionaire, but there's no millionaires in prison really, because you can only spend so much on your week and your canteen. You know what I mean? So that's just how it kind of went. Everyone would just have their own stuff in their cell, and you just do iftar. What's the name? But I was used to doing iftar by myself, because when I came home and I was fasting every day, I didn't have no Muslim family, so I was doing it all by myself. Do you know what I mean? Fasting. Ramadan, I didn't really celebrate it because I didn't. Do you know what I mean? Since I've met Khalid, I go to his family's house now, which is good. I love that. And his mum, I'm close to his mum. His mum's like a beautiful lady. She reminds me of like my family. Do you know what I mean? So I just chill. I'm very close with the whole family. His brother, his sister, his mum and stuff. So I'll just be there chilling, and it's just normal. It's like I can be myself, do you know what I mean? It's not awkward. Whereas I think some people used to generally knew that I wasn't celebrating because I obviously didn't have a Muslim family. They'd invite me to their house, but I don't like feeling awkward. So like I would never go, because I'm thinking, I know it come from the heart and it meant a lot, and thank you for inviting me, but I don't want to be sitting at someone's house just like, do you know what I mean? Just like, hi, you all right? And don't really want to ask for nothing, do you know what I mean? Because I'm a bit shy. But it's good since obviously me and Khalid and I normally go there on Eid, which is nice. So
to wrap up the podcast, first of all, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of getting to know you, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But that means you have to come on again, especially now that you live out here.
Yeah.
So being on the podcast, coming to Islam, did that help you? I have two questions here. First one is, and answer as much or as little of it as you'd like. First one is, did coming to Islam help you make peace with what you had come to prison for? So did it help you, like, I suppose, overcome that mentally? And then secondly, what did you learn from, I suppose, like, what did you learn about the whole journey of coming to Islam that you feel reverts need more, I suppose, help with? I spoke to a brother the other day who was like a guy, he's a barber. He said, a guy in my barbershop just took, it wasn't Sam, it was another guy. He said, a guy in my barbershop just took Shahada. What do I do now? Because I don't want him to like take Shahada and then I just like feel like everybody's left him, which unfortunately is the case for so many reverts. So I'll be intrigued by your individual journey, like where you feel like you could give advice to both reverts but all the existing Muslims as well. So yeah, two questions there. Did it help you make peace with kind of like why you got into prison, and then like how would you advise people with the experiences that you had? I
don't think I'll ever fully make peace with the reason I went to prison, but it gave me clarity on it and how I will be judged and seen on it. And it was before Islam, so I know anything I did before Islam, Allah will forgive me for. But it doesn't. I'm a human being. Do you know what I mean? So that there'll always be a part of me that haunts me. Do you know what I mean? Especially, I think being Muslim, it amplified that even more, because I could just put things to the back of my mind as a coping mechanism and not think about them and things like that. But I think,
have you spoke about it in public? Like,
yeah. I've done. I did a full podcast on it on James English's podcast. It's the first time I ever spoke about it, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. A lot of people didn't understand the reasons, or the papers were saying things they didn't really understand the truth. And I think once.
So this was in the media.
Yeah, I've done a podcast with James English. Have you heard of James English? He's got a big podcast in England. It's quite big.
I think I know it by face.
Yeah.
So hold on, they wrote articles about it after your podcast, you mean?
No, it was in the paper anyway from when it happened.
Fine.
It was in the Sun, like Sparring with Fury, they'd put it in the papers again and stuff like that.
Oh, I've seen, James English.
Yeah. So I'd done a podcast with him, and that was the first time I'd ever spoke about it properly.
What, I think, so I've heard your story through a third person, but I've not watched the podcast with it.
Okay.
So am I right in thinking the gist of it well, how comfortable are you speaking about it?
Yeah, you can speak about it. I think it's hard for me to speak about because it's embarrassing for me. Like, I'm ashamed of things I've done in the past, but at the same time you need to shed light and bring awareness to it to stop other people.
Well, bro, there's no need to speak about it, especially if it's not something that you're comfortable.
No, I'll speak about it. I do find it uncomfortable, but at the same time, I think it's needed, because I think if you can stop other people making the same mistake, there might be a child, a kid watching this, and they might take something from it. Do you know what I mean? And stop them go down the same route. James
English is a proper, like, I've seen 1 or 2 bits of it. He's proper, like, Cockney, right?
Yeah, no. He's Scottish.
Oh, Scottish. Yeah. I remember there being a distinct accent.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a distinct accent. He's a lovely guy there, bless him.
Fine. So essentially, what I had heard, again, through third party, was that essentially you got yourself in a bit of a scuffle or something.
Yeah.
And ended up hitting a guy. And
he passed away.
Okay, we had something very similar. We had a brother on the podcast, a very similar story where he was driving his car and he hit a guy, he hit a person passed away. I think it was like a young boy, and that was a tough podcast, man, to have because he now has a son and stuff like that, and
I think especially when you have kids, it amplifies your feelings for them, and it makes you. I've always had remorse, 100%. But I think once I have a kid now, the way you already see how I am with my son, and I think that's what hurts me more than anything. If my son passed away, I don't think I'd mentally be able to cope. I'd probably end up in a mad hospital. Yeah. Like, I think I'd end up going insane. And I think I've put that kind of pain on somebody else's parents. It's a hard reality to live with. Do you know what I mean? Because I just feel like it's just hard to live with, man. Because I just feel like if anything happened to my boy, it'd be an absolute world. And I've had a part, even though I didn't actually kill him, he was at hospital. But me even having anything, playing a part in it, it's a hard reality to live with. And I think people need to understand the actions that have big consequences. You just think it's a fight. Loads of people have had fights. Most people have had fights in their life, but bad things can happen. And I used to fight quite a lot as a kid. I was very insecure. And if someone started, I wouldn't walk away, or I'd have to feel like I was the big man because I was so insecure of people looking down on me. I've never had a fight since. Do you know what I mean? What
would you say to people who are listening to this podcast, if they listen to podcasts, young guys who are a bit... they are kind of... There is a culture of people who are always up for a bit of a fight, and living a life that perhaps... You touched on something earlier that was really powerful, which you said you believe that everybody, or a lot of people... know that Islam is the haqq, is the truth, but because it doesn't work with their lifestyle, they will try and like avoid it. That I resonate with that a lot, because I feel like that as well. Yeah. Like sometimes when I reflect on Islam, I'm like, it's so obviously true, like, because it's a religion of evidences. Which is the big thing. That's the thing. Like you said, I was the same with you, man. Like the feeling thing is like, I can't get over the fact that everybody feels like their religion is right. Yeah. But when you come with the evidences, it's like, well, this is a religion of evidences. Like it's there for you to if you want to understand. And so I feel like now more than ever, in the past few, I was gonna say past few years, but past few months, bro, just with the rise of like so many like people speaking more outwardly about Islam, people becoming Muslim, and so on and so forth. I feel like. People are starting, and also with what's been taught in schools and stuff. And so you're seeing people who are like secular, but they're like resonating with Islam's morals and stuff.
So I tell you what, I put Islam like into a sense is like COVID, and I was like, what do you mean Islam's like COVID? To the sense where, remember when COVID first came out and everyone was scared, there was videos of people piling up in hospitals and piling them, and then it was going outside the houses and realising, hold on a minute, this isn't true. You know what I mean? Like, this is propaganda from the media. And it was the same with Islam. They used to think, all Muslims want to kill you, this and that. They're going out into the world and meeting Muslims, and they're thinking, hold on a minute, we've been lied to for years, because this is not what Islam's like. Yeah, there might be a very, very minute population of Muslims that take it the wrong way. But if we all felt like that, you'd all be dead. When you come to meet me, you don't think I'm going to kill you. Yeah. When I'm playing with your kids, you don't think I'm trying to radicalize them, do you? Yeah. So I think people have come out and they've opened their eyes and they're saying, this is not what Islam is, what the media is telling us. They know it's not true now. So then they're thinking, they're going to see him, and it's mad because now more than ever, my friends from back home or people that I know, and they message me and say, even today, wallahi, even a few hours ago, a friend of mine, a female that I grew up with, she messaged me saying, I was telling my husband earlier, I think I want to be a Muslim. She's like, and I was like, subhanAllah, it's mad.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, everyone used to be like, checking your dad would take Shahada. And I was always like, nah, I don't even really speak to him about it because he knows I'm Muslim. What's mad is when I first took my Shahada, my dad was happy about it anyway, because my dad's very open-minded. Like, if that's good for you. But my stepmom wasn't happy about it. My stepmom, I grew up with my stepmom and my dad from like the age of 10. And she was a bit annoyed about it. But then the next day she said, I apologize. It was just, I just didn't want you to be... It was very foreign to her. She probably thought I was going to be an extreme and you can't do this and you can't... Now she loves the fact I'm Muslim. My dad loves the fact I'm Muslim. My family love that I'm Muslim because they said it's made me a better person.
How did your sister react?
She was gassed. She loved it, yeah.
How's your relationship now?
Me and my sister are cool. We're not that close because she lives far away.
Fine.
But I speak to her. We're cool. Like, she's just my sister. Do you know what I mean? And like I was going back to her and saying, nah, my dad, like, he's like, I just think my dad would care too much what people think, this and that, whether or not he thought it was true. And now more than ever, he's more interested than ever.
Really?
And not just him, his friends, like one of his best friends, Lati, that he grew up with, he was in the gym, he's one of the amateur coaches at the gym. And him and my dad have been best friends forever. And he was like, I'm taking to Islam. He's like, he's really taking to me. I'm like, so I've given books, and a lot of my dad's friends are Muslim or they're becoming Muslim. And even my mates that I grew up with, and my mate that I've met from Manchester, Callum, it's mad because he never really spoke to me about Islam, but he started following Mustafa Briggs, and he's like, yo, is your boy in it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he keeps liking all my stuff. And then I was like, yo, you low-key love Muslims, innit, to him? And he's like, yeah, like, mashallah. And I was thinking, people like him, he's like a little party boy, loves it, loves girls, loves the nightlife. But people are seeing like, because I'm always like, I don't feel like I'm openly Muslim, but I'm not no sheikh. Do you know what I mean? Right, I'm just like me. I'm very natural. I'm not perfect. I'm a normal guy that prays and believes in Allah. That's the way I kind of portray. That's the kind of way I see myself.
But I think that's reality, isn't it? And for all of us. And so when people see that, they feel like they can relate to someone.
Yeah.
Dress how they dress and from the same background they're from and stuff like that. So.
And Briggs was like, it's mad because he's like, he will have only known Islam through you, but he's watching my stuff because it's you. Because you don't understand the impact you have on people. And 100%. Me, I probably think people don't look at me and think, oh, he's a serious Muslim. Yeah, I pray and I practice and I far from perfect, but I try. But I think I must have an impact that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. Well, bro, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't see it. I just think if no one's going to look into Islam, they're not going to look at me. But people do, and I think there's people probably out there that that relate to me because they think, you know what, Islam's actually cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just normal, he's a Muslim, he talks about Islam, but he's just like one of us. I don't have to change. I can still be me. Like, I've never thought I was Arab. I've never thought I was Asian. I never thought I'm a black, white guy, half black, half white. I'm Jamaican English from Little Eaton village, little village boy, and just happens to be Muslim now. I think going back to one of the questions you said earlier is what can revert people that are interested in Islam. Sadly, one of the biggest challenges for reverse is Muslims. I think Muslims have a very bad tendency to judge people, tell them what they can't do. You can't do this now, you're Muslim, you can't do that, and it's pushing people away from Islam. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't like that. He was a very kind-natured person. He was very gentle. He had time for people. He didn't judge them. If they find things hard, he'd give them time. Do you know what I mean? He's not like, you've sinned and that's it, you're going to hell. Do you know if you do this, you're going to hell? Yeah, cool, there's laws and stuff. But we're not perfect. So stop telling Muslims, you can't do this, you can't do that. When I was speaking to my friend earlier, the female, she's like, yeah, but does that mean I have to wear the hijab? I was like, the hijab is your choice. No one can force you to wear hijab. If you're Muslim, yes, it's prescribed, you should wear it, but no one can force you to wear a hijab. It's your choice. She's like, oh, really? I was like, there's how many Muslim women that don't wear hijab? It doesn't make them a bad Muslim because they're not wearing hijab. Yes, it's prescribed, and yes, you should wear it, but if you don't wear it, there's people that wear hijab and don't pray. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you just work about your relationship with Allah. I think
the other thing is that, like, to that point, when I speak to people who are like on the brink of like taking Shahada and stuff, this thing comes up where, like you just said, like, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? And, you know, I think one thing to bear in mind always is, like I said, no one's perfect, and there's always things that you have to improve on. You can't justify sin. So it's not like, it's okay, you know, to not wear hijab or whatever, but it's like the fact that, you would rather take Shahada now and be a sinner
than not be a Muslim.
Than not be a Muslim and die a non-Muslim.
Facts.
Like you just want to die a Muslim. Like because the minute you take Shahada, you're on the journey now, and it's all about dying on the path. It's not about getting to the end of the path.
Yeah, you're never gonna be sinless. It's impossible.
Bro, I remember this story one time. It hit me. I don't know if it's a real story or it's a fake story. I just heard it like 10 years ago, but it impacted me. And I don't even know if I'll be able to relay the story properly, but it was something like a woman goes to the masjid and she took Shahada, and then she said, do I have to, I can't remember specifically why, because I don't want to say the story wrong, but essentially there was an interaction where she took Shahada, and then she said something like, do I have to do X, Y, Z, something good, and then the people in the masjid were like, look, take things slowly, sister, it's okay. And maybe it was her taking Shahada or something. She was like, no, I want to take Shahada, I want to do this properly. Hopefully someone in the comments will have the actual story. Lo and behold, she was like, essentially, what if I die? Like, I don't know when I'm going to die. It turned out, when she left the masjid, she got hit by a bus and died. And so...
She took Shahada?
She took Shahada, yeah. So it's like...
Sinless, what a way... Bro, it's a sad story, but what a way to get you literally fresh. You sinless, you just took Shahada, you're dead.
So it's like, we try and think, no, we're going to live forever. Genuinely, none of us... we don't know if we're going to be alive tomorrow, bro.
Right.
And so... It's like when it comes to the point where you're thinking about taking Shahada and you're like, oh, but I've got all these sins, or I'm not ready to wear hijab, or I'm not ready to even like pray or leave a certain sin. It's like, look, take Shahada. First take Shahada, then let's talk about this. Because if you don't, you just want to make sure you're in. Because
that was a big part of me taking my Shahada. I remember thinking, right, look, you're not going to be able to follow the rules because you're just not ready yet. But then I remember saying to myself, it's better to be a Muslim than sin and not Muslim at all. And we all sin. And you've got to think, if you've got these scholars and sheikhs and they sin, what chance have we got? Do you know what I mean? Man. So we're going to... I think we've got a
Lord that's the most merciful. So
exactly
who's to say that? We were talking about this earlier when I just met you. You were talking about the mercy of Allah, and it's so true. Like
if Allah wasn't so merciful, I'm done at it, bro. Yeah. And like I was saying to you earlier, we can never sin, pray 5 salah a day, do everything right. We still can't repay Allah just the gift for our eyesight. So no matter what, we can only ever get into heaven on His mercy anyway. So. And I think this is when I met the brothers and stuff like I was saying to you before, I think what changed for me was stop concentrating so much on sin, and because you concentrate so much on sin, and I'm not saying you should sin, by no means don't, but you go into, when you sin, don't think, oh, that's it, I'm a rubbish Muslim, and now that's it, I'm finished. That's the devil tricking you. I'm not saying sin, but what I'm saying is stop focusing so much on the sin and just think, yo, Allah's merciful, I'm trying. Just be sincere. Even when the Sahaba took Shahada, there was I think it was 8 years or 10 years in Mecca. There was no laws. They were just being around the Prophet.
When Allah, this is what I love. This as well. It's like when you look at the sunnah of Allah, like the way that Allah brought down the rules, essentially is what it's saying. It's like, first of all, what was taught was the beauty of Islam, the heaven and hell, attach people's hearts to Islam, and then the rules came. Exactly. And my favorite depiction of that, and I hope I do it justice, is that when alcohol was made haram, and it was initially made haram around the prayer times and stuff like that.
Then he said, don't come to the masjid drunk, don't pray drunk. Then it got forbidden because they know they used to love it, so they can't just say to them. It's like they had years to be around the Prophet, learn from the Prophet, love the Prophet, fall in love with Islam. When you take your Shahada, you're not just going to be got a relationship with Allah like this. When you get a relationship with Allah, you're going to automatically want to stop certain things. It happens. But what Muslims are doing now is people are taking Shahada and they're just trying to dump the whole lot on them straight away. Wear hijab, don't do this, make sure you fight for this and that. And I'm like, even as Sahaba had 8 to 10 years of just being around the Prophet, learning to love him, then they moved to Medina, and that's when the rules came.
And what I like about what you're saying as well is that it's essentially what we're saying is that
just be sincere. Right,
but if you think about these things where, there's a narration that says if you walk to Allah, Allah comes running to you. Or if you take a step towards Allah, if you come towards Allah, handspan, He comes towards you an arm span, and stuff like that. I remember someone telling me that when you look at all these narrations, first of all, two things. First of all, I was saying that when you take a step towards Allah, He takes, you have to take the step. You have to show kind of thing. But another thing is one of the shuyukh, he said that if you that narration that says when you walk to Allah, Allah runs towards you. I might have that wrong.
I think if it takes one step towards Allah, it takes 10 towards you. Is it? I think it's on one episode of the podcast. And I think it was if you walk towards Allah, Allah comes running to you. That's definitely one. I'm 90% sure.
Fine. I should really check this before putting this episode up. And what he said is if two people are meeting each other and one is walking and one is running, who wants to meet who?
Yeah.
Allah wants, like, how merciful is that? How beautiful the picture is that? Like, Allah loves that we're coming to Him, and He's excited to, subhanAllah, like, Allah is above all examples, and, you know, you can't even cover. But yeah, it's just the fact that, like, He is the one who's created us. He's been so merciful to us, given us everything. Like, how can we not be so grateful for it?
100%.
Anyway, bro, look, we have to eventually end the pod, so I want to end it with this. If people are watching, young guys are watching who are Muslim or non-Muslim, and they are in the life now that you were living, street life. I know you got charity that's like dedicated towards gang life and stuff like that. Like, what do you advise young men when they come to you, or if you have a platform to speak to young men? Like, what's your message?
In general, or about coming to Islam?
No, in general, like the life of, regardless of.
Okay, so no matter what, this life's empty, bro. Like, no matter what you get, it's subjective. If you're broke and you want to go out and make money and hit the streets and do this to impress girls, you're going to get it and you're not going to feel no better. And it's proof. Look how many million... Andrew Tate, perfect example. He's got everything the world could offer in the dunyas possible. He's got women at his disposal. Every money he can get. He lives a lifestyle. He's famous. Everybody wants to be around him. He can have anything. He's a billionaire. What does he do? Take shahada. Because life without God is vaporous. It's just a vaporous existence. So trying to chase things, just trying to chase the dunya, it'll never end well. I've done it myself, and it will never end well. We're going to be dead soon. This is what people forget. We're all going to be dead soon. Like, it's mad. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, in 100 years, 150 years, everybody that's alive now, Beyonce, the Queen, well, the Queen's already dead, but everybody, that anyone you can think of, in the next 150 years, we're all going to be dead anyway.
Man.
And then no one's, and then your kids will mourn you, and maybe your grandkids, but then who's going to care? So literally, you're going to be dead soon, and it's going to go fast like a blink of an eye. As only the other day I was in school, exactly. So don't get so caught up in the dunya. I think we plan so much. Even myself, I'm far from free of this myself, of getting so caught up in this world and trying to think, well, I need to get this, I need to get this house, I need to get this. But really, it doesn't mean nothing. In the eyes of Allah, this dunya is nothing. It doesn't, do you know what I mean? It's all about your deeds and your actions. So work, you've got to provide for your family, be a man and whatever. But make sure you put in, when you're putting in away savings in your bank, make sure you're putting away good deeds, because that's the biggest bank account you're ever going to have, and the most important bank account you're going to have. So just try and find purpose in life. I think with the generation we live in, there's no purpose. People are just living day to day, especially people that don't believe in religion and stuff like that. Like, I always think, imagine I didn't have religion or I didn't believe about God, I'd just be just living, and just what a boring existence, because this life doesn't fulfill me. I'm not going to lie. Like, I love my son and I love my family, but I remember thinking, when I get this, I'll be happy, and I've got things, and I just think, is this it? It's such an anticlimax. You're just like, it doesn't do nothing for me. Yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it, how you hear that the human being is never content, but when you experience it, like, whoa, like 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I would say if I had, like, well, sometimes you get like an increase in your salary, and it's like 2 years ago I just said, if I get this amount of money a month, I'll be happy, and that's it, I'm done. And then you get that amount of money, and you're like, you need more. Yeah.
Nothing's ever, you're never going to be satisfied. But listen, this world isn't here to satisfy us. You're never going to feel completely content in this life. That's for the akhirah.
Yeah, that's you might as well seek contentment somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. This world isn't built for this world's full of not nice things. There's a lot of evils, a lot of atrocities in the world, and it's just not a nice place. Generally, there's nice parts about life, but look, when you think about Jannah, you're gonna be with your loved ones, you're gonna be at peace, that's gonna be true contentment. This here is just a test, bro. It's like when you're going to work, you're not really gonna enjoy it. You might have some friends at work and have a laugh here and there, but generally not most people. Like, if you're just sat in an office all day trying to make ends meet, you're not gonna enjoy it. And that's what this is. It's just a test. And look, we're gonna be dead soon, so just make sure you try and die the best place you can, and don't let sin try and take you away from the path of Allah. He made us to sin. We're made like that. We're not going to be sinless. Don't by any means intentionally sin, but when you trip up and mess up, it's okay. We're human beings. Get back to your praying and ask for forgiveness.
You know what that reminds me of is that you said that we're here to work. Someone put out a tweet recently, and they said that they went to a lecture, and the lecturer said, you know how you hear this thing where it's like the idea of being a Muslim is kind of like you're a traveller. I think that's the actual hadith as well. Yeah. But this lecturer, what he said is, we're not here in this dunya to live. and we're not here in this dunya like traveling. We're here to work. Yeah. And it was like, that puts things in perspective. Like every minute on this dunya, you're working for akhirah. Obviously, it doesn't, not to go against the hadith. Obviously, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is like that you're like you're traveling.
This world or going to the next one. But it's, while we're in this world, it's
work.
Traveling through
it's
this
your
work,
full-time work. Yeah. It's like every minute, it's like you're at work right now.
And you're going to be
for the akhirah. Yeah.
We're in, especially for men, it's hard in this aspect. Men are very visual, this and that. The kind of society we live in today, you can't even go online, there's half naked women, there's this and that, and it's hard to just, you're fighting your nafs all the time, you don't even want to look at certain things because you know it's just not good for the heart. But men is men, sometimes we're going to be looking for and this and that, and it's just like, we're in a society where everything is, we've got everything on our phone. The phone and Instagram and social media is one of the best things we can use if we let social media use us and we don't use it.
Yeah.
If we use it and don't let it use us, sorry. So it's hard. And I think in this generation, it's probably the hardest generation especially in England. It's one of the hardest societies to be a Muslim and to stay on deen, I feel personally, because we're just surrounded by so much haram. But when you've got a good connection with Allah, I promise you, anybody that's not Muslim, you'll never find peace like it ever. I've had women, cars, this, that, the other, and there's nothing in the world that gives me peace like Islam. When I was in Medina, I was just chilling with my mates, and I had the best time. Like we're just catching
your
jokes,
heart was just,
and we're just at peace. And my family see that, they see, and people that are around me, they think, where's he? He's got something that I need because he's obviously got peace. And don't get me wrong, I have my ups and downs, and I've had some real low points. Some of my lowest times is while I've been Muslim, nothing to do with Islam, but some of my most depressions I've got is when I've been a Muslim. But at the same time that's another thing that taught me as well, like not even that long ago, I was going for a real bad period of my life. I was just in my house on my own for days at a time. And I just remembered, like, it just Allah definitely taught me something from that. He put me in that situation to teach me, like, I was thinking I can speak to my friends and family about it, and I do suggest people speak up if they're ever going to in the mind frame to do something stupid. And remember, suicide and mental health is very high at the minute. I've never been suicidal, thankfully, but I was in a very, very low place. And I was thinking, well, if I speak to my friends and my family about it, what are they going to do? They're not going to fix it. They can't do nothing to make me, do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't really from anything. It's not like something bad happened and I needed to fix it. I was just in a very bad depression. And I just realised, like, my family love me, this and that, but really all I've got is Allah, because everyone else is going to work. They've got their own lives to live. Do you know what I mean? They love and they care about me, but they've got their own lives to live. And I was thinking, you know what? All I need and all I've got is Allah.
Yeah, and if you got Allah, you got everything you need.
And I didn't need nothing, and that's what brought me back out of it. I just thought, you know what, pray, and it made me feel better. And it was mad. He was like, I fell so in love with Allah. I was just thinking, you know what, He's the only person in this world that will never abandon me, no matter what I do.
That's incredible.
Bro, it was such a spiritual awakening experience. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you another story before we end the podcast, which I found, this is probably the most insane thing that's ever happened to me being a Muslim. I always ask God and Allah to not and, because we don't associate partners, that's astaghfirullah.
We got you what you're saying. This one.
I always ask him to strengthen my iman and such. And one night I was at home, and uqsam billah, what I'm telling you is the God's honest truth here. I was in bed and I was having a very disturbed sleep, tossing and turning, and I've rolled over and I'm looking at the wall, and it's probably like 2 in the morning. No, later than that. It's probably about 5, 6 in the morning these times. I've opened my eyes and I'm looking at the wall, and I just feel, you know, when you just sense that there's something behind you and you don't look, but I'm thinking, wallahi, ya uqsam billah, I've turned around and it's like a hologram.
No.
Wallahi uqsam billah. And it's looking at me, yeah, and it's like a dirty man. Yeah, he's like dirty, but it's like, you know, it's like a hologram, but like through a portal. Like, it's just, I could see his see-through, but I can see him. And I'm looking at him, and for some reason, I wasn't scared at all. I just was going, that's all I kept saying, yeah. Because I knew he wasn't someone from a good place, because I could just tell by the way he was looking at me. And from behind him, behind him, I could see that it wasn't from this worldly earth, do you know what I mean? It was from somewhere else. And he's not talking, he's just looking at me, but he's like trying to get to me, but he can't get to me, there's something stopping him. Then he's like, turn around and look back at me, and I'm looking him dead in the eyes, then boom, he's just disappeared. I got up, went in the shower, come back and prayed Fajr straight away. And people are like, sure you wasn't dreaming? I said, do people that are asleep get up and shower and pray Fajr? Do they? And ever since then, I know for a fact, for 100% fact, there is other realms of life.
You know what?
And that strengthened me, man. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes. People, because if I heard someone say this, yeah, I'm going to be like, yeah, sounds far-fetched. You're probably just saying it. On my son, Uqsam Billah, I swear by Allah, I see him, I looked in my eyes, I know exactly what I saw. I've told my friend, like, I already believed in Islam, and obviously, but knew it was the truth, but it's like it was a concrete evidence, and I was like telling my family, like, this is what happened, you need to take Shahada, like, I wish they could have seen it, like, do you know what I mean? And it's just, that strengthened my iman so much.
You know, on the topic of bad night's sleep, I noticed that, you know, there's adhkar to do before you sleep, and part of the adhkar to sleep is that you, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would like cup his hands and like, you know, dry spit on his hands, and then recite Surah Ikhlas, then Surah Falaq, then Surah Nas, and then like wipe his hands over his body, like wherever it could reach, and in that process he would do it 3 times. And I know of that, and sometimes I get to bed, I'm so tired that I'm like too lazy, and like I'll tell myself, oh, it's just a sunnah anyway, like I'm not going to be sinful if I don't do it. But you realize that the sunnah is there for you. It's not there for, it's not so you can like it like, as in, it does please Allah that you that you're following the sunnah, but you're not doing it for like Allah has put these things in our path or given us these things for a reason. It's to help us. That's why it says, oh, you who believe, oh, you who has transgressed against his own soul. Like when you're sinning, you're not affecting Allah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's great.
You're transgressing against yourself. You're just hurting yourself. 100%. So anyway, I've noticed that when I don't do that adhkar before sleep, I have a bit of a rough sleep, and when I do it, I don't have a rough sleep. So I try and like, when I'm like really tired, I go to bed, I think to myself, do I want a rough sleep or do I want to go sleep? I'll try and make sure I do it, because honestly it makes a difference. So yeah, these adhkar, like I hear you, man. Like Sam, you, next time you come on the pod, man, we got to do it when Sam's in Dubai. Because Sam has very similar experiences. And he sat with Tim Humble and was explaining, because obviously Tim Humble like specializes in ruqya and like the world of the unseen and stuff like that.
I've always wanted to speak to someone about it, because I want to know what does that mean?
Bro, you should speak. So Sheikh Tim actually is most of the time he lives in Dubai.
Yeah. So, is he the one with the grey beard?
No, Sheikh Tim is, I'll show you. You recognize him. So actually, I'll send you some of his lectures, because he's done lectures on the unseen. Okay. Like he's done some of the biggest. In fact, the most viewed episode of Freshly Grounded. Oh, bro, you have to listen to it. The most viewed episode of Freshly Grounded is his.
I think I've seen. As soon as you show me, I'm rubbish with names.
No, I'll show you.
But as soon as because I've watched.
He's done a few episodes, but if you look at the most viewed one, that one.
Yeah, I've watched them. Yeah, I've watched them.
It's called Shaitan, Jinn, Magic, and Movies.
Yeah.
Watch that. It's 409,000 views, and the second one is Sonny Bill, your boy.
You're top.
And then the third one is Armour, your boy. Like, you got your bit So hopefully this might be the most viewed now.
Inshallah.
But watch that one. So he specializes in like he's graduated in Medina in Hadith and Islamic sciences, but he specializes in the world of the unseen, jinn, magic, and stuff like that. And so we had a chance where when we first met him, we were sat with him, and Sam was explaining all of the different experiences that he's had, because that's what actually Sam came to Islam through these like experiences.
Is he not born Muslim?
No, Sam. No, Sam.
The one that you normally do the podcast with?
Yeah, no. So there's Kaya, who I do the podcast with nowadays normally, but then there's Sam, who you'll know straight away, bro. But if you're not good with names, that's probably
the worst with names, bro.
So Sam is. Let me just go on his Instagram and find a picture. This is Sam.
Oh, okay, so, I'm thinking of the other brother.
Yeah. So Sam does. Sam did like the first 150 episodes, Special Ground with me, and then he now does like them a bit like every couple of weeks and stuff like that. Yeah. But you guys are getting along. But anyway, Sam's journey is incredible, because he became Muslim because of these experiences that you're saying, okay. And he just was like, there's something else in this world. And then his friend explained to him about the world of the unseen, and then he took Shahada, and then he just like, yeah. And bro, Sam. It makes me so happy to see Sam's family, bro, because he's born and raised English parents, born and raised in Hertfordshire, and he has he's married with kids, and he's got 2, Allahumma barik may Allah protect them, beautiful sons, like white, blue eyes, blonde hair, and like you speak to them, they're like Assalamu alaikum, like before they eat, like Bismillah, and it's like you see, and I've not seen before like kids, because you know, like you said. You know, there's people who their parents are reverts and stuff like that. Yeah. But I've never seen that in like my own life, where I'm seeing children of two revert parents be born. And so these like I said, like two boys who are Muslim. It's so beautiful to see, because Islam is not brown people or black people. Like
people think that though.
But Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his final khutbah was about
like now Arabs better than
bro.
No Arabs is better than
When you see that and you see these like blonde hair, blue eye, white kids, and born and raised in Hertfordshire, like you're typically British but so Muslim. You say, look how beautiful Islam is. Like, you don't look at them and you go, oh, they're a guest in Islam. You're like, no, these are Muslim. They're born and brought up Muslim boys, and their parents teach them Islam, and they're born and in a Muslim house. And Sam, like, very so special when they do Eid, bro. Like, because bro, in his culture, obviously, Christmas is huge. So he tries to like really do it. So bro, his house is decorated for Eid. He gives gifts to the kids. They wake up, they're so excited for Eid. Ramadan, it's like iftar time. You know, they and it's like,
I can't wait to experience that, man. You know, to have my own family and it's Muslim, and just have to have like, obviously, like I share custody with my son. And I have him, like, I take him to Eid, pray in the morning, we pray on whatever, but then I give him back to his mum because I just think you're going to have a better time. She's from a Muslim family, etc., etc. But like when I'm married and this and that, I just think, oh, how beautiful that would be. And it's mad that you said about him, about just the normal British children talking about Islam and saying Bismillah and how mad it is. I had a very similar experience when I met Khalid's mum for the first time. Because she's just a normal white woman, like my mum. But then I couldn't fathom that she'll say Bismillah and Alhamdulillah. I'm thinking, oh, it's just mad to me because
may Allah bless her.
She's normal English woman, but she's a Muslim. I was thinking, I used to say to him like, bro, do you know how lucky you are, bro? Do you know how beautiful that is? Like,
bro, Islam Muslim. Islam's so beautiful. It's like, it's amazing, man. Like, Islam is a religion, it's a way of life. And sometimes when you see that, it opens your eyes up, because you're right. Like, to some people, it's just like Asians or something. And bro, even growing up, I had that disconnect with Islam because, like, you know, my dad, may Allah bless him and honor him and preserve him, he obviously is Pakistani, and so he only knows the Pakistani community. So when he's taking us Jummah and stuff, he's taking us to the Pakistani mosque where it's mad cultural. So it's like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is Islam. So I'm not, bro, it's only when I went to Cardiff and then I started going to this masjid, bro, and in this masjid, bro, I'm seeing brothers who I see in the gym, white boys, Cardiff boys, born and brought up, and I see them in the gym lifting weights.
You'd never know those
ginger guys and stuff, like blonde guys. And I go to this mosque, and I'm seeing them in the Jama'ah. I'm like, hold on a second. Bro, the Imam is from Palestine. The people in the Jama'ah are from like Cardiff, London, UK, Arab world, Pakistani world, like everywhere. Like, and I was like, wow. It was the first time I experienced the mosque that wasn't a culture. It wasn't specific. One of the Imams was Palestinian. The other one was Jordanian. And the one who like the mosque manager was another ethnicity, and it was just so mixed. The one of the imams was Pakistani, the Fajr imam, and so you just see such a big mix. You're like, wow,
and that's Islam.
Yeah, that's Islam.
That's
bro.
Islam.
And that's what, do you know? That's what I try and showcase in the podcast as well.
You have to, bro, because that was people don't understand.
That feeling that I got where I was like, wow, like that's my brother, and that's like we're different, but the thing that connects us. But how you and I,
Muslim anywhere, and you just know straight, like it's just automatic. You could be from anywhere in the world. You're Muslim, and it's just it's weird.
You and I have been brought up in different parts of the country. We've been brought up in different ways. We had different upbringings. In what world would we connect and be like, let's sit across the room for each other and connect us so deep? Only through religion.
When the first time we meet each other, when I prayed.
Yeah,
it's mad,
bro. Because look at Iman is like this thing where it's like instantly when you meet your Muslim brother, it's like, all right, that's my brother, and like. Instantly, it's like you ride or die for your brothers.
100%. And this is another thing as well. Let me touch upon quickly. I know this podcast is running a bit long.
Yeah, it's so funny because we've got like it's fine. I'm concerned about you because you got dinner soon. So we'll make this the last one.
I found a lot of racism in Islam in England. So like Asian and Arab parents, they ain't letting their daughter marry no black man or mixed race man or anything. And I found a lot of racism in there, and I was just thinking, like, rod, like it hurt, man, because I'd never really, even though I was brought up in a white English village, I didn't really experience racism.
Yeah.
So it was kind of new to me, and the first time I got it was not in religion, but in culture of people that was in the same religion, and it hurt, man. And I found it, and I remember before I went to
because that's your people, you feel like other people hurting.
I was just thinking, like, like you lot, like, do you know what I mean? And I didn't connect, like, I just couldn't really connect with them. It was very like cultural. And I kind of seen Islam as a Asian religion kind of to a sense, even though I know it wasn't, but that's kind of how I felt. And I felt like a lot of them showed me love, but it showed me love to a certain extent, to like trying my one of the sisters say how much you love you then kind of thing. It was very like, no, not ours. And then, even though it's clearly forbidden, so how good do you think you're better than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, telling them you're right and you're not? But that's what. So I remember before I went to Umrah, I was nervous, but I was thinking, one, got a foot covered in tattoos. Two, I'm not like Asian or Arab, and I was just really worried how they was going to perceive me, this and that. I couldn't have been more wrong. When I went to Saudi, that's the first time I saw real true Islam, like of people that grew up in the country, and they loved me. They loved that I was they love reverses. They find it mad that like you came to this religion on your own, you wasn't born with it.
Yeah.
They was giving me VIP treatment. They was letting me go to certain places that people could. And I was just thinking like, this is a British problem. This is not outside of Britain. This doesn't really happen in proper Muslim countries where Islam is they actually follow Islam and not culture. They were so nice to me. And I was thinking, this is real Islam. This is how Muslims should act.
No, the other thing is Arabs specifically have that they're known for their hospitality.
Yeah.
Arab hospitality is immense.
Oh,
even
so
living here, you see it like their hospitality.
So nice,
yeah.
So nice. And I was like I said, I was very worried, and they just made my trip so much better. And I was just like, this is the difference, man. Like they don't care about culture. They love their culture and they love the people, but they're not putting that above Islam. And I just think like it's a very big problem in Britain, and that in the culture in the Asian or some of the Arab cultures in Britain, like of the racism and that. Like, bro, you can't make your own rules up in Islam and think that you're better. Like if your daughter wants to marry somebody, if he's a good man to her, because some of them they generally would rather the daughter marry someone that's from the same caste as them, or the same country as them, or the same that doesn't pray, he doesn't do nothing, but he's like us. Then a person that's from a different culture that praises on deen and etc. etc. It's not everyone, but I did see it a lot. And I think when I went to Saudi, man, big up the Saudi people, man. May Allah preserve them and bless them, man.
May Allah bless you with a pious wife, man, and many more pious offspring. May Allah bless your son and all of your children, inshallah.
And yours too, bro.
I mean,
beautiful. I met him today.
Let's stay in touch, man. It was lovely. And
thanks for the gift.
No, no problem at all, man.
Coming to our stores near you.
Yeah, guys, grab the game. Thank you, Ty. Inshallah, we'll meet up soon. Again, let's do dinner.
I live here now, so.
And exactly. Let's do more podcasts, man.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Jazakallah.